Oh, yes. Who's going to add themselves to the Pantheon of Greatness? I can tell you right now, it's Lawton Lutz. He's adding himself to the Pantheon of Greatness. That is a great intro, and it should be. So, Lawton, I don't know if you saw this. There was an article in USA Today. They talked about how pretty much every 5 years there's a historic type epic NBA Finals. And, last year's Lakers championship in the bubble. Bubble's fake. I mean, people don't know, Lawton's a big Lakers fan. No, congrats to the Lakers. They gone. They were the only 2 seed ever, or 7 seed ever favored over a 2 seed of the Suns. And without spending too much time on this, you know what I told you would happen? Injuries, I know, whatever. But this could be, we talked about this last night. And by the way, welcome to the special edition of the Task Force NBA Finals Preview Roundtable. It's one of these things where if you add up the years between the Suns and the Bucks and their last appearance in the finals, it's over 70 years. 93 for the Phoenix Suns back, and you somehow, and you're like an NBA savant, and forgot, you thought that I meant that the last time they won a title. You're like, they didn't go to 93. So they were in 93, lost to the Bulls. Bucks haven't been there since 74. Yeah. And they've got titles with guys named Lou Alcindor and Oscar Robertson, but that's over 70 years combined of the 2 teams playing tonight in Game 1 in Phoenix that have not been in an NBA Finals. So it's one of these things. I think we're in for something special, and I'll let you speak more to this, and I'll let you give the up to the second information as well. If Giannis isn't healthy, it won't be the same. That being said, the Lakers lost to the Pistons with a banged up Malone and Gary Payton. The Pistons still took that series. You can't take it away from them. No. But this is going to be a different series if Giannis isn't really healthy.
Yeah, I can't even disagree with you. I saw the way his knee went. I think the whole country did. So the fact that he's even a game time decision tonight is pretty remarkable in my eyes. It started doubtful and it went questionable today. So it's 2 up in the air for me right now. I wish both of these teams were just healthy so we could see them play it out. But it's hard for me with the uncertainty of Giannis, whether or not they're going to be able to beat the Suns. So the Suns are rolling. And no surprise, they're a 2 seed, right?
No surprise. Well, for those that haven't watched our previous Task Force special editions on the playoffs, we've done them throughout, Lawton and I. And by the way, big news for Lawton and I, we are going to be doing, along with our man Ryan Woolley, the high school football game of the week for the Livingston County teams coming up in the fall. So my dad's alma mater Country Days on the schedule against Southline, so that should be fun. They get the doc out there, the former starting quarterback. But we talked. I gave Lawton a lot of hard times about the Suns being a 2 seed, yet being the only 2 seed as an underdog and a serious underdog. The Lakers were minus 300 to win that series. And I understand Davis got hurt. Even if he was healthy, the Suns were a 2 seed for a reason. And this series to me, and you know what? Let's throw this up from one of our viewers tonight. What player you think is going to be the X factor? And you were razzing on Chris Paul. And I understand that you're not alone in that. We have a big thread for our fantasy league, the great UFFL. And a lot of people rag on Chris Paul. Yes, he hasn't been clutch in certain situations, but he's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best players to play point guard in the last 30, 40 years in the NBA. And to me, he's your X factor. I mean, obviously, you look at a guy like Giannis and Devin Booker and Chris Middleton. I mean, those guys are obviously X factors. But to me, if he did this against the clip joint, if Chris Paul plays the brand of basketball, Lawton, that he has played this season, they're going to win the title, and he's going to be the X factor.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Well, I kind of think Devin Booker is more the X factor in this series, and I'll tell you why, because who's going to guard him? You're going to put Drew Holiday on him. He's going to be probably switching time between Paul and Devin Booker. Or you're going to leave – you got Giannis out, so he's more likely going to be targeting someone like Jay Crowder, so he doesn't have to play such hard defense. It's going to be interesting to see what Coach Bud for the Bucks has for these guys, because if Devin Booker's getting hot, Chris Paul doesn't really have to do much work at all. When the Suns struggle is when Devin Booker doesn't play well and shoot well, and they're going to have to give him multiple different looks. But I'm really interested in the matchup to see what Drew Holiday does against Chris Paul, and if he splits time off Devin Booker. I think that's going to be the thing to watch. And I just feel like Chris Paul, he's been such a great game manager. He's done so much for that team. very remarkable story with this Suns team as he goes there and they don't add too many free agents, right? Just him and Crowder, and completely change the dynamic of that team. And again, at this time of year, you need luck and health, and I think the Suns have definitely fallen into both those categories as well.
By the way, I got the Believe shirt on. Lawton got this for you. It's a silly Tim Tebow shirt, but it's pretty amazing. And thanks again. And by the way, I guess this batch of the shirts, Lawton, when you wash them, because this wasn't really this color, it was made a blue shirt. I guess we're going to have to get a different batch of shirts.
Yeah, they're like beachy shirts, but I had to get you one for any of that have watched our show over the years,
It's amazing. Now, listen, just to clarify the X Factor.
Lakers, I bag on him for Tim Tebow. Continue, sir.
Well, I lost that Tebow 5-year bet. We had a 5-year bet. This is how ridiculous, how great my luck was with this. So this was years ago, obviously. I think we made it like 10 or something years ago. And I gave Lawton 5 years for Tebow to win a playoff game. And, of course, it was his first year. The stupid Broncos team. Dave Rieger never let me live down. But back to the X Factor thing. Listen, I get what you're saying about Devin Booker, and I mentioned Giannis. But they're not X factors. I mean, you know what Devin Booker's going to do. You know what Giannis, if he's healthy, is going to do. We know what Chris Middleton's going to do. Do we know what Drew Holiday's going to do? No. Do we know what Chris Paul's going to do? I mean, we know what he's capable of. To me, those guys, those main guys that I just mentioned, guys like Middleton, Booker, and Giannis, they're not X factors because unless they have literally the worst series they've ever had in their life, they're going to get their 25, 30, whatever, their usual numbers are. It's a guy like Chris Paul, if he goes off for 30 and like 10 dimes, or, just as he hits huge shots late in the game, that's, to me, what an X factor is. I'm not saying you were incorrect with what you were saying there, Lon, but that was my point about when you mentioned Booker. I don't think Booker could be an X factor because he already is. He's a built-in X factor. To me, it's a guy like Chris Paul, or I mentioned Drew Holiday. I know we got someone talking about Brent Forbes right now. Those are the old Pistons Taco Bell unsung heroes. Like Vinnie Johnson wasn't going to do what Dumars and Isaiah did, but in certain games he would be an X factor, or Rodman would be, or Lambeer would be. That, to me, is why I think Chris Paul is the biggest X factor in this series because, yes, he has had trouble closing in the past. Yes, he has played some great basketball this year. There's a huge reason the Suns are in their first finals since 93, but he hasn't been there before. He hasn't had a chance to win a championship. That's why, to me, there's so much on the line for him. And we'll get to a very interesting question you have about Chris Paul and Giannis in a minute. I want to throw this up there from Kiefer Gee. We appreciate you watching. We will get to this. Of course, it's the talk of the town, Lawton. If you're an NBA fan, you've seen it everywhere. The Rachel Nichols, Maria Taylor situation that's going on, it's terrible. We will get to that a little later on. We want to kind of spend some time here on the series itself. Kevin weighing in, saying he totally agrees about Chris Paul, and also very excited for a Leach and Lunch show. And by the way, it says Facebook user because on StreamYard, you've got to authorize them to show your posts, your comments. So if you want your name on there, just go in your settings and allow StreamYard to access your Facebook, and certainly for Facebook, so we can know who you are. But with this user goes Bucks at 6, hashtag book it. Hey, preseason Lawton, I had Bucks and Clippers. I thought I was going to get the miracle. I got one team. I'm not going to say who I'm picking right now, but I still got one live dog. That being said, the Suns are minus 260-ish, 270-ish favorite in the series. It's going to be very tough to beat them, especially. And as we mentioned, you mentioned this a little while ago, Giannis went from doubtful to questionable to game time decision. I'm looking at the line movement, and the bettors, Vegas, the odds makers know. I do not think Giannis is playing tonight. Suns are, let me throw up the Inspin line, just the live line right now from our good friends at Inspin.com and the Inspin.com network of handicappers. It's been sitting at 6, 5.5, 6, money line minus 245 to 270, basically since the line came out and it seemed like Giannis was unlikely to play, or even if he did play, would be at 100%. I think Giannis is not going to play. Probably game 2, hopefully. If you're a Bucks fan and a fan of the NBA, you want him to be in the series. You don't want Michael Jordan or, Charles Barkley back when the Suns played, or Oscar Robertson back when the Bucks played in 74. You don't want them not to be in the series. But this line is juiced in, Lawton. If Giannis was going to play, it would probably be closer to 4. Yeah.
I agree. And, taking a step back, when you mentioned about Chris Paul being that X factor, Devin Booker is also brand new to the finals too. I mean, he's also, and that was my whole point, was this is his time to really step up and hit the stage. And I know they've had some comparisons to maybe like the next Kobe or whatever it is, but this is Devin Booker's chance to shine. And I mean, To be honest, there's guys like Cameron Payne that could show up at any point in time, or Kel Bridges. I mean, there's all
talk about an X factor. Cameron Payne for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Cameron Payne has come off the bench, and especially when Chris Paul was hurt, I mean, he's been dynamic for the Suns. And again, like I said, you got to have a little luck and health at this time of year, and you got to have guys that come off the bench and make an impact when they're in there. And he's definitely done that. Been very surprising. Probably the best he's played in his career.
Yeah, Mike Gee mentioning Dan LAWTON-SUNS and 4, too much firepower for Phoenix, and CP3 is a, I don't know, Ovechkin-like quest for a title. He is. And Lawton, you had a very interesting question that we were talking about that you brought up when we were prepping for the show tonight. And I think this is a very important question when it comes to the series, but a very important question when it comes to Chris Paul's career. Who do you think this title is more important to? Is it a guy like Giannis, who has all the talent in the world, obviously much younger, but the Bucks kind of had failed at some times in the last couple of years when they were, a high-level 1 or 2 seed in the East. It looked like they were the favorite. I think they were the favorite in the East the last few years. They were this year. And by the way, I'm going to show you the odds and how it's changed from the preseason as far as to win the title for both these teams to where we're at now. Wait till you see what the Suns were. I hope some people, I actually know a couple friends of mine got down on the Suns at a pretty high number, especially before the playoffs started, but they weren't as high as they were back in November. But Chris Paul has been in the league for a long time and has consistently been one of the best point guards. He has tons of, top 5, top 10 statistics when it comes to assists and points and different things. And obviously, for the different teams he's played, he's been their leader. I'll answer this first and then let you answer the question that you posed for us. This definitely means more to Chris Paul. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean anything to Giannis, but Giannis is going to get a lot more chances, I think. And who knows how long he's with the Bucks. I mean, he might be the Bucks most of the rest of his career. He might be with 2 or 3 other teams like LeBron, your banner chaser friend. But I'm just kidding. But you look at Chris Paul, not 1, not 2. How many did they win in Miami? They didn't win 7 or 8. You look at Chris Paul, and this is the twilight of his career. What is he, 38 years old, 37 years old? Yeah, so he's, sure. These guys can play. I mean, Roger Federer is going to be 40 in a few weeks. It's amazing what these guys can. Brady's going to play till he's 50 if he can. So you can play later, but how many more chances is Chris Paul going to get? When he went to the Suns, he knew they had a chance with Monty Williams. By the way, definitely, he won Coach of the Year, but it wasn't even close. To be a Suns team that went from worst to first and now has a real chance as the favorite to win their first finals is amazing. And Chris Paul has got to take advantage of this. So I think that definitely, not that it doesn't mean a tremendous amount to the youngster, the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, but this definitely, to me, when you ask that question, means more to Chris Paul.
100%. Yeah, I mean, and I think in this day and age, if you don't say someone's in the top 5, you're being disrespectful. And I think at this point in his career, and we've watched all week, if you watched any other sports shows other than the Task Force, Chris Paul just gets a pass. I mean, you've already made a couple digs on LeBron. We make fun of LeBron James for when he loses in the finals. I know. 9 straight finals. Chris Paul, I heard folks say this week it doesn't do anything to his legacy. It absolutely does. This is a huge stamp. Stamp it. He's in top 5 point guard all time. Isaiah, Magic, Steph, Oscar, Chris Paul if he wins the title. If he doesn't, you still got a player like Jason Kidd who has a ring as a coach, a ring as a player. 4 times has gone to the finals. He's second in assists, second in steals all time. He's still statistically better. And is it disrespectful to say Chris Paul is maybe 6th or 7th best point guard of all time? No. I think if he wins this ring, it's just book it. He's in there.
Here's your numbers, by the way, on Chris Paul, and listen, he is a Hall of Famer. I mean, you agree with that, right? I don't know.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's maybe not first ballot. He's a Hall of Famer, but 16-year career. Of course, started with the Hornets, the old out of Wake Forest, and went to the Clip Joint from 11 to 17. Went to the Rocket Ships for a few years, then the Thunder, and then obviously the Suns. Now, 11-time All-Star, 4-time first-team NBA player. 5-time second-team player, 7-time NBA All-Defensive First Team, 4-time assist leader, 6-time steals leader, Rookie of the Year. And you look at some of the numbers that this guy has in his career. I mean, I mentioned he's got just incredible stuff when it comes to the all-time numbers for him. And it's, to me, when you look at Chris Paul, they had some really good Clippers teams, and obviously the Clippers could get out of their own way. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Lawton, wasn't he? He was there during the Donald Sterling stuff. That was during his era with the Clippers. So they had all these problems going on, tons of talent, and then later on Blake Griffin and what was why am I forgetting the nickname that they called them? What was when Blake was
Lob
there?
City.
Yeah, Lob City. Yeah. And then the Rockets, they had good teams when he was there, but it did seem they didn't have the right pieces in Houston. Obviously, the Thunder was a different story, and then when he was with the Hornets, they had some decent teams, but never as good as the Clippers did when he was there for that 7-year run, or obviously what Phoenix has this year. So to me, I mean, how many more chances is he's going to be 37 next year? And you mentioned the guys that are up. I mean, I think that he would stay in Phoenix if he can. This team's not going anywhere when you got guys like Devin Booker and Mikal Bridges and Monty Williams. I mean, they're going to be a top 3 Western seed to me for several years to come. But how tough it is to win a title. I mean, I might give LeBron a hard time, but LeBron's won an incredible amount of championships. He's been to a lot. He went to 9 straight NBA Finals. I think we're not going to see these dominating teams anymore. I think we're going to see different teams in the finals for the most part, year in, year out, which is a good thing for the NBA. Dynasties are great. But I'd rather have, the Suns, become this worst to first team. Down the road, the Pistons do it. See the Bucks in the finals. See the Sixers in the finals. I want to see a lot of different things going on, because for a long time, the NBA was watered down, where you had like 3 or 4 really, really good teams, like when the Spurs were good, or the Celtics were good, or the Bulls were good, even the Pistons back in the late 80s, early 90s. And you'd have like 23 terrible teams that had no chance of going to the semis, get along the finals, or sometimes even the playoffs. So it's a good thing, but it's one of these things, Lawton, where you got to take advantage when you can. Yes. And the Suns are the favorite in this series, and they've got to win this, and Chris Paul has got to get that championship.
Well, and as for the fans, this is great. I mean, it shows a little parity. You're not watching the same, like you said, 5 or 6 teams that are going to be in it every year. Phoenix, Bucks. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? I mean, for a fan. But getting back to Chris Paul, just to kind of wrap a bow on this. At this point, when you're talking about a top 5 point guard, you have to have done something in the postseason, in my opinion. You have to have done something great. And the top 4 guys, we all know what Oscar did. We all know Isaiah, Magic, and Steph have done. But I think the most impressive thing, besides if Chris Paul can get this done, besides anything, Chris Paul, the most impressive thing to me was 3 years straight from 2012 to 2014. He was the first team All-NBA offense and defense. And that was during the time of LeBron James' prime. And I just always found that to be so impressive as far as who Chris Paul was as a player. Forget the gold medals, forget his impact on the NBA. Like I said, that is the most impressive thing to me. And to be honest, a ring, that just puts that's the cherry on the sundae for Chris Paul. And listen, they've got home court. They're playing another team that could possibly be without one of their best.
And home court actually matters, Lawton, this year, because there's no bubble. There ain't no bubble.
Right. They are without question the favorite. And again, I like what our Facebook user, our book it with the Bucks and 6. If Giannis is healthy, he's the X factor, man. This is a different series. Here he is again.
How about our man Philco Falco, Suns at 4? What? And he also, Philco's a big fan of ours. He does sell great insurance. So I guess look him up and buy some insurance. Yeah. I know he helps our good friend Charlie Brown, who is absolutely helpless without him. He did his boat insurance. Charlie's got a hot air balloon, and I believe he's got a fleet of Bentleys. So he did his insurance there. He does it at the high level and the low level. So check our friend out.
And Nick has Cliff and Drake from State Farm. So it's all good, man. I mean, all good insurance all the way around.
You like khakis? All right, listen, I've got really interesting numbers on where both these teams' odds were. I think many of you could probably figure out where the Bucks' odds were going back to November when the season was about to start. But maybe some of you don't realize where the Suns were. We'll get to that in just a second. But first, a word from our good friends at SKREWBALL.
Are you the bold and daring type? Call now. Looking for something exciting and new? Get screwed. We've been waiting. 1-833-SKREWED. Give me your best shot. Call now. 1-833-SKREWED. Screw responsibly.
Yeah, Lawton, I know you've called that number many times. Has it worked out for you? Have you gotten screwed?
That screwball is dangerous. You can't have too many.
Well, you know what? It's you brought it up. I might as well show the picture. There is Lawton enjoying some screwball for his birthday in Grand Rapids, wearing the Notorious B.I.G. shirt. I love that shirt, by the way. And I still can't believe that guy's gone. Still can't believe Tupac's gone. I was watching a movie with some Tupac in it last night, and the movie Gridlock, by the way, with him and Tim Roth is one of my favorite movies ever. It's about them trying to get off heroin and all the bureaucracy of that nonsense. I can relate to that because I got off heroin myself. By the way, quick serious turn here, Lawton, and I know you'll appreciate this too. We talked a lot about this the last week before we get to those pre-season numbers on the NBA championship odds for the Bucks and the Suns. Our really good friend and my former intern and just one of the most beautiful human beings I've ever known, Tim Ponser, passed away tragically in a car accident last week. His memorial is on Saturday. I'll be speaking at it. And there's no easy way to give the speech I have to give, but I want to honor his life. And Lawton, I know you knew him from University of Detroit Mercy and for many different things, and hung out with Tim away from the game, if you will, away from our jobs and different things that we do several times. And it's crazy to think that we just lose people so senselessly sometimes. But what's helped me get through, Lawton, and you and you're always there for me in many different ways. What's really helped me get through a lot of these kind of situations that make no sense when you lose someone so young. He was 27 years old and had just started working with Mike Sullivan and Kyle Bogey with their two different companies they're doing, Brand 29 and the Metro Detroit Golfers site that they've got going. Is that people like you and I that were touched by a Tim Ponce or someone else that we've lost, living the best we know how to do and the best lives we can, helps honor their life and legacy and all the great times we shared with them. And it's one of those things, Lawton, where that's what gives me a little solace. There's no words or speech or, hug or whatever that can really truly heal that. But that's, it's just, I send so much love to him and his family and look forward to seeing them, for the wrong reason, but still look forward to seeing them on Saturday. But, it's just crazy to think that he's gone at 27 years old.
Yeah, you said it. That was an absolute gut punch when I found out that information. Tim was a really nice guy. He was hardworking. He was up and coming. And I feel like, 27, that's really young. And it was an accident. I mean, it wasn't anything that just kind of shows you that, you've gotta live every day the best you can. And I feel like a sense for Tim, I know that him and I had a really good friendship. And I know that you and him had a great friendship and working relationship as well. So I feel like those are the guys that people like you and myself have to ride for, and guys in our business that we got to continue to kind of push forward, for the guys that didn't make it or didn't, I just always felt like once I heard that news, I'm like, well, we always have them in the back of our minds and our hearts, and we have to make sure that we do the best we can, just like you would have. So
beautifully sad. And here's if people want any of the information, it's on my Twitter and social media. But the memorial's on July 10th, Saturday at 1, and they're going to stream it. It's the streaming sites right there, ccoaklandcounty.com/media, the Calvary Chapel in Oakland County and Troy. So please, if you can go, I mean, obviously that'd be great. But if you can't, at least try to tune into the stream so we can celebrate our good friend Tim's life. And I know that a lot of people want. Yep, I'm sure he'd probably be taking the Bucks in 7 to go against the grain. He loved to do that. So I'm sure he's going to be enjoying this NBA Finals from up above. It's one of these things where, sports can bring us together in so many different ways. And you'd mentioned, home court advantage. Last year, there was no home court advantage because last year it was a bubble. To see these stadiums filled and what it's going to be like in Phoenix and what it's been like in Phoenix, what it's going to be like in Milwaukee, it is going to be something really, really special. And Lawton, I wanted to throw these numbers up there from before the season started. It's got a little graph here that I got that shows it's kind of an odds tracker courtesy of our friends at sportsbettingdime.com. So just to show right here. So the blue, if I know that maybe it's harder for people to see if they're on their phone, but if they're on a computer, they might be able to see us a little better. The blue line is Phoenix. The green line is Milwaukee. Now, for much of the preseason, the Bucks were, if not the favorite, I know the Lakers were up there too. They were basically a little over even money, and they kind of stayed the same way throughout the season. The Sixers at one point, I want to say it was, towards the later part of the year, before January and February, they became the favorite in the East. But preseason, it was the Bucks were the favorite, and you can see the lines moving here. I went out there, went on the landscape there so you can see a little better. But look at the Bucks or the Suns, Lawton. You could have gotten the Suns, who we knew were going to be a playoff contender, not necessarily a top 3 Western seed contender, anywhere between 49 and 60 to 1. So if you don't know what that means you throw $100 on the Suns to win the title at 49 to 1. That's basically $5,000. $1,000 is $50,000. $10 is $500. And the Suns, you can see their odds as you move through here from December, went down to about 35 and then went back up to like 46 and then kind of started tracking down towards when they became a top 3 seed in the West around the mid part of March and then through the rest of the regular season. And went all the way down to almost where the Bucks were, they're like 3 to 1 to 6 to 1. I know before they played the Lakers, Lawton, that was May, right? When the playoffs started. When they played the Lakers, they were a $280 underdog to the Lakers. And I believe at one point they were close to like 15 to 1 when the playoffs started, depending on the sports book. So you have the Bucks, basically a straight green line, up a little bit when the Sixers maybe were the favorite for a minute there after the Sixers did not play some of their best basketball. But the Suns were such a long shot. I mean, there were so many teams ahead of them. I wonder if there's anybody watching right now that got the Suns at like 40 or 30 or even 20 to 1, because you could hedge the crap out of that. You got the Suns at 20 to 1 for $100. You got $2,000 in the bag if they win. The Bucks are the underdog in the series. You lay some money on the Bucks, you can't lose. You're either win 1,000 or lose, win 2,000. So, or close to that. That's the advantage of having a long shot make a championship round where you can hedge your bet. Would you have ever taken the Suns? Let's say I gave you $1,000 and you had to take 2 different teams, any 2 NBA teams, but only 2, 500 each. Would the Suns been one of those teams?
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now.
For me, they would have.
Before they played the Clippers, I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but and I think based on where your graph and timeline is, there was a point when we were in the Western Conference Finals before Game 1 where I saw them anywhere +9 to +1,100 to win it all. So that just kind of goes to show you how little Vegas believed in the Suns, even at that point. But I think at that point, Kawhi was kind of up in the air. Weren't sure if he was going to play. And now you see it's fallen. But I mean, there were a couple of times where I said the Suns and the 76ers had really good odds, but the Sixers fizzled out. And you know what? The Suns, give them credit. It's not their fault everyone got hurt on the way up.
No, you like to call them a team of destiny. I said, no, they're not a team of destiny.
My old pastor used to say, take your blessings, right? And that's what the Suns have to do. Listen, when I found out they were going to go to the finals and they were going to possibly have a series against no Giannis, I'm like, you can't make this up. I mean, you had a half LeBron and AD gets hurt. You got Jamal Murray's out for the Nuggets. Kawhi's out. I mean, you could just replay it over and over again. I mean, sometimes you have to have the luck and the health, and that's what the Suns have had. And I tell you, man, if Giannis doesn't play, this series is over. It's going to be over quick.
All right, before we get into our picks for the series, and thanks for everyone making their comments, and if you want to throw your pick up there for the NBA Finals that starts in about an hour or so, please do. But, Lawton, we had someone bring this up earlier, and it's all the talk in the sports world. It was Kiefer Gee that brought it up. And just to briefly let people know if they haven't heard of this. All right, so I would think that if you're watching this show, you're an NBA fan, or maybe not, but I hope you are. And if you're not, Rachel Nichols is a pretty well-respected NBA court reporter, studio host, sideline reporter. Maria Taylor, same thing. Maria Taylor is black. Rachel Nichols is white. ESPN has had multiple problems when it's come to, sexual harassment as well as racism issues. And this happened a while ago, but the story just came out where I guess ESPN has an internal system because Rachel Nichols was doing the shows from, remotely. And I guess if you have your camera on, it can send whatever you're recording and it sends it to an internal server that I think most ESPN employees have access to. And when they were in the bubble last year, Rachel Nichols found out before the playoffs started she was supposed to be hosting the NBA Finals pregame show and the coverage of the NBA Finals, which is a prestigious job, one of the biggest jobs in sports. And then Maria Taylor was given that job. And of course, this is during all the George Floyd stuff and, the Black Lives Matter protests and all the things that we've gone and seen through, the last year plus, along with the pandemic in this country. And Rachel Nichols was caught talking to LeBron James's agent. And I'm forgetting, I read like 15 stories on this, but I'm forgetting the other person that was involved. But she was on a call and was going to with LeBron James' agent for advice. Is his name Mendelsohn? If I'm not mistaken.
We're not talking about Maverick Carter or
No. Let me just throw the
okay.
No, but I think his name was Mendelsohn. I just want to double check because I read a bunch of stories on this. It was all right. There were some calls with her on pre-NBA show calls with like Jalen Rose and Woj and Jay Williams as well. And there's been a lot of issues. But no, she was on a call with here, I have it right here. I just want to make sure I get Adam Mendelsohn, which is the longtime advisor of the Lakers, LeBron James, and James's agent, Rich Paul. And she was kind of talking to Mendelsohn to request an interview with LeBron and Anthony Davis, but also sought advice about what was going on. And basically, she wasn't trying to make this about Maria Taylor not deserving the job that she ended up basically, in a way, from Nichols' point of view, taking from her. But she thought that it was just bad on ESPN. They were trying to look good for racial diversity, gave the minority person the hosting job and not Rachel Nichols, who allegedly said it was even in her contract that she was supposed to host it, whatever. But it got leaked. It got leaked by Deadspin. It's, all over the place. And it does not make Rachel Nichols look very good. Maria Taylor refused to want to have her on the show. It's just become this whole mess. So, I just wanted to see where you're at with this law. Let me just briefly say this. What Rachel Nichols said was terrible, but I don't think she was specifically trying to say that Maria didn't deserve it and that she was anti-Maria. She was looking out, and whether you want to say this is selfish or not, she was looking out for herself, saying this is ridiculous. Like I've had jobs that I was going for that were given to someone else. And I did say, she said, I wish Maria the best. She hosts football. She hosts basketball. She does all this stuff. I don't think this was a attack on Maria Taylor. But the way she handled this, and the fact it sucks that it was released when it should have been, but it makes her look very selfish and not understanding of what was going on in the country, that it doesn't even matter that it was that she's black. It's that she deserved the job. I know she thought that Maria Taylor was given the job because she was black. Whether she was or wasn't, she should be saying, Maria deserves it, but I would have liked it. And instead she said, I think that Maria Taylor got the NBA Finals hosting job because she's black. And it's just a total mess. People are filleting ESPN. There's many minority people at ESPN that are furious about this. Jalen Rose and others are, and even Wojo said Rachel handled it bad on air or on a call. It's not a good look, and it's taking away from what should be a great NBA Finals. But Lawton, unfortunately, we're at this place in the country and in technology where things are getting caught on camera, things are getting caught on recording, and you got to be careful what you say. But unfortunately, a lot of people, Lawton, are saying, a lot of the articles that I read, that these are a lot of minority, people's feelings that people will put on a kind and gracious tone in front of you, but behind closed doors, speaking to especially white people, they'll say stuff like this. I don't think Rachel Nichols sounded racist, but it's just the whole thing is really bad.
There's a lot to unpack here. I mean, first of all, you have a private conversation that gets leaked. That's unfortunate.
Terrible.
Because I think Rachel was probably trying to do the right thing and sought advisement and whatnot. Personally, if I'm the CEO and I have to make a decision, I'm taking Maria Taylor all day. I just like her candor. I think she's always professional, and anywhere you put her, she's successful. So, which brings up another point about Maria Taylor and her. She's got contract negotiations going on right now. She wants to be paid as she deserves, and maybe
her contract's up in 3 weeks, and it looks like she's probably going to walk away from ESPN.
Right. So there's a lot of bickering going on here, but in this business, you got to find your place. You know what I mean? And whether if Maria Taylor doesn't work for ESPN no more, I guarantee she'll have a job in 5 minutes somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think Rachel Nichols, the fact that they leaked that on her, that's really unfortunate because those private conversations a lot of times they're meant to be private. They're not meant to be shared. And I don't know if you know this for sure, but I was under the impression that Rachel Nichols was Jewish too. So I didn't.
Rachel Nichols is. I think she's half.
Okay, yeah.
But Lauren, she's also, and she said this on the call that was leaked. She said that she's been through this in her own way as a female. So,
sure.
By the way, I threw the New York Times article up. If you want to read what I think is the best piece I've read on this so far, it's in the New York Times by Kevin Draper. It really kind of outlines everything it said. This happened last year. So it just got leaked like a few days ago. This was from last year, but people have known about this. It's been kind of causing a rotten feeling at ESPN among many minority people there and others. Wojo's white. So you read this article. It's excellent. It's on the New York Times website. Yeah. It's on I think I put it on my Twitter as well. So please read this when you get a chance if you want to know the, kind of the backstory, what's going on. But this is my point. And I'll make this again. And Mike Gee also, Kevin talks about this in the article. Mike, he's asking why Kevin Draper that wrote this article. Mike's asking why they can't work together. I don't want to get into the minutia of that, but basically, Marie doesn't want Rachel on her show. There was ESPN said they weren't going to have Rachel on last year when she said she didn't want her on, and they went back on their word and they had her do stuff that Marie didn't have to toss to her. It's a whole mess. But you're right. Why can't they should have to choose one or the other? And actually, there is something they laid out in the show or in the article on that. What they did was since Maria didn't want Rachel on live as a reporter, they wouldn't let anybody go on live because they wanted it to be equal treatment. And then they ended up backing away from that, and they changed their feelings on that after Maria got very upset and almost wasn't going to do the show at all. But the whole thing's a mess. And just back to my initial point, I don't think Rachel Nichols sounded racist, that it was about Maria Taylor being black. She sounded selfish. She sounded egotistical. And Lawton, I'm in the business. You've been in the business off and on throughout your life. It's very competitive. I understand wanting to get a high-level job, and hosting the NBA Finals is one of the best things you could do. It's like when Tirico hosts the Super Bowl pregame show, or Bob Costas hosts the World Series. It's Olympics. It's a huge deal. And for the NBA world, that's the biggest hosting gig you can have. And I understand that she wanted the job, but the way that she went about it on that call, and it was a private call, so that sucks in its own right. But the way she talked about it on that call, and I'm not trying to tell her, you should have said it this way. She was speaking, which she thought no one, a friend, Mendelsohn, who was LeBron James' advisor, she didn't think anyone was going to hear this call, and ended up going to the ESPN internal server, and all these people heard it. She could have said, listen, Maria's great. She deserves it. But I really want this, and I think I deserve it. So that's not what she did. It could sound to some racist. It sounded selfish, and it just, the whole thing sucks. The whole thing sucks. And she had to open the show the other day, I think it was yesterday, and basically apologize, and then threw it to, who was on? It was it not Antoine Williams? Kendrick Perkins. I'm forgetting who the other guy on was. They talked longer than Rachel did. Like, she gave like a 20-second apology and said that she loved Maria and all her other colleagues. And then they talked, the two black guys, former NBA players, talked longer than Rachel did. So the whole thing is just an absolute mess.
Well, I mean, that's the way this business is. It's not always about if you think you're the best person to get hired, it's what your the person hiring thinks. And it's some get the job and some don't. It's just it's a tough situation, but it all starts from a private conversation that was made public. So there's a major trust factor broken there. And now you have an even messier situation than you did before. But again, it's not the first time we've watched ESPN do a purge either. So they've had a lot of good talent over the years leave because they maybe not paid fairly, or vice versa. ESPN was making some cuts. And I mean, this is not anything new. It's like I said, it's unfortunate that if that's really the way it was, where you have to hire someone because of their feeling pressure, then it's just where we're at, and it's unfortunate.
It is. All right. Well, right now as we record live, getting ready for the NBA Finals, we're gonna have our picks coming up in just a second here. Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson and Rogers and DeChambeau are playing in this beautiful course of Montana, which I'm eventually going to play. Me and my good friend Jeff Lester were just talking about that. So this ad from our friends at SKREWBALL makes even more sense. Here's Brady. He's got the screw ball. I'm going to do play-by-play here. He throws it to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Oh, they catch it. And there you go. Terrific Tom right by the stadium during the parade. He threw the championship trophy to another boat filled with screwball. So, Tom Brady's into the screwball. Who was –
He was scrutinized for that. Everybody's scrutinized for everything today. I'm sure somebody will get mad because I didn't say Chris Paul is the greatest player of all time. It's cool.
Stop trolling Chris Paul. You said, we've had a lot of fun throughout the playoffs. You said, what did you say earlier? You're like, I can't close.
Can't close Chris. I said that before. But
so
again,
it's CCP or CCC.
He's been on teams that were very good. He had a lot of talent. And like I said, he gets it this time. No question. Again, I still think he's an easy top 10. I don't think you get an argument from anybody that really knows basketball that he's a top 10 point guard all time. But with that ring, I mean, that just puts the cherry on the sundae, like I said before. It gets him exactly that 5 spot.
All right, here we go. Our picks for the NBA Finals. And as I mentioned on the start of the show, Lawton, it's every 5 years or so we have an epic historic type finals. This one you got over 70 plus years combined of the two teams having not been in a final. Suns 93 last time they were there, Bucks 74 last time they were there. It looks like Giannis is a game time decision. I do not think he's going to play. I have not seen anything new. Let me just double check while we're live here before we make our series picks. I don't think there's any new news. I think the line, the spread's built in. Suns -6 because here, actually, you know what? I'm going to show this here from our friend Malika Andrews, who, by the way, was mentioned in that article because she was, Maria Taylor thought she was getting a raw deal in certain things as well because of her being an African-American. Take a look at this. This is Giannis. This is from Malika Andrews right before about an hour ago, it says. Here's Giannis on the floor warming up, protective sleeve over his left injured knee. He is currently listed as questionable. So, Lawton, I mean, he looks okay there. Let's take a look. He's going through his legs, but you can't tell anything when it comes to what it's going to be like to be in an actual game. That makes me look a little more concerned if I'm a Suns better that maybe Giannis is going to give it a go tonight. What do you think?
This could all be optics too. It's hard to say. I mean, you just think back to KD in 2019. He wasn't really ready, but they had to put him out there because they were losing the series. And then tragically, that's what happened to him. And then Clay went down. You know what I mean? So it's like you rush these guys back too fast. There's always that huge risk factor. So, you're at Phoenix tonight. The Suns play well at home. You got to try to steal one. I think Giannis being 65, 70% probably hurts them more than helps them at this point. And you could use maybe a couple extra games. Maybe game 3, I could see him coming back. But again, they're playing chess with that. So I think this is optics. I don't think he plays tonight.
All right, breaking news. Is Lawton going to go against the Phoenix Suns, who we poo-pooed for most of the last 3 months? Let's get into it. We got a 2-3-2 format, 2 games in Phoenix, 3 in Milwaukee.
Old school.
Game 5 if necessary, and then 2 in the land of the desert sun. Who do you have, and who is your MVP?
Game 5 will be necessary because the Suns will need it. I think the Bucks get at least 1 game. It's laid up for the Suns. You got Giannis hurt. This is a no-brainer. Chris Paul, you got to get it done. Devin Booker, you got to get it done. It's time. You have the opportunity of a lifetime. A team that wasn't even in the playoffs the previous year for the past 11 years, Danny. You haven't been to the finals since 93. Chris Paul could come in and say, in year 1, I did something no one ever did. I won the first championship as the Phoenix Suns. Book it, Suns in 5. Now, this could all change, but as it stands now, because I got to take it with a grain of salt. I don't know where Giannis is at. I still
he's on the court. Giannis right now is on the as an hour ago. The court drilling through his legs.
I'm a believer now. It took me a minute. Okay, it took me time to come around. The Suns have earned my respect, and they've had some fortunate breaks with some injuries, and that's fine. I mean, hey, they haven't had any injuries. They're the number 2 seed for a reason. We're not going to call them a team of destiny anymore.
No, they're not a team of destiny.
They're just good, and they should win the finals. Suns in 5.
Give me your MVP.
And I really wanted to argue with you, Dan. I really wanted to come on here and say Bucks in 6. I really wanted to go against what you were
Yeah,
thinking.
you can't,
I
but you
know
don't
you're
want to be
gonna pick the
wrong.
Suns. I just don't know
I
how
mean,
you're going to pick them in.
Didn't you and I at one stretch, we were like 22-0 or 22-1 with our Monday Night Football picks? Something like that. You and I lost like I know I started 8-0 or 9-0.
Yeah, with the spreads, we had a nice run last fall.
Yeah, give me your MVP. I feel like you don't want to give it to Chris Paul, so you're probably going to give it to somebody else.
Well, I think if the Suns win, they're going to give it to Chris Paul anyway. So, and they're going to break the streak because I think the last 11 years we've had all forwards win it, if I'm not mistaken, all small forwards. So Chris Paul again broke the streak for the MVP. It's like if the Bucks win it and Giannis plays, they're going to give the MVP to Giannis. Let's be honest, they're not going to give it to anybody else. So yeah, definitely Suns at 5. Chris Paul's the MVP. He finally gets it done. Book it. Top 5 point guard all time.
Hey, listen, I stuck with the Bucks and Clips. That was my preseason pick. I stuck with it literally till now. And I mean, I could change because it's one series, 2 teams. I wish I could take the Bucks because I picked them in the preseason, but I didn't expect Giannis to be hurt. I think Giannis will come back, whether it's game 2 or 3. We'll see how effective he can be. Middleton is going to be a bear to guard. Hey, remember when he was a Piston? Brook Lopez is a factor inside. Drew Holiday. They've got some great players, and of course, obviously, are extremely well coached by Boodle. It's one of these things where they're just not going to have enough with a banged up Giannis. The Suns are going to win this series in 6. Chris Paul is going to get that title. Devin Booker gets his first. Mikal Bridges. And Chris Paul is going to be your MVP. He's going to average he might average 20 points this series. I mean, Booker's going to he might have some 40, 50-point games. But Chris Paul is going to be a steadying factor running that offense, dishing the ball. He's going to get some big shots late in games. And I think the Suns get it done in 6 so that Giannis does come back. Maybe the Bucks take 1 or 2 in Milwaukee and extend it to 6. The Suns win on home court. Monty Williams, the coach of the year. You've got Devin Booker, one of the MVPs of the NBA. I know he didn't win it because the Joker did. Great story. Jokic, the Joker. Great story, as you said. And this is not the last we're gonna hear of the Suns team, but it's that title that's been elusive for 16 plus years for Chris Paul. Suns get it done in 6. It should be a fun series. And Chris Paul is your MVP. Lawton, it's always an honor. I know you're going to Disney tomorrow. What are the first 3 things you're going to do? Are you going to get a Goofy costume? Are you going to go to Star Wars Land? Are you going to get a fast pass? What's the plan?
Well, we already got all that stuff paid for. The biggest hurdle is Elsa. We got to get there first. That's our biggest thing. We got to get there because Elsa seems to have now become a hurricane. So, although she's hanging out on the west side of the state and might go north and skip, we got to get there first. But yeah, we're going to do Animal Kingdom, Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, Universal Studios. We're going to do the whole gamut. It's going to be a fun vacation, something that we've been saving for and really gearing up for a long time. And the whole family gets to go. So it's awesome.
Disney. It should be super fun. I don't know. They have some warnings here, so I apologize about that. But it's the Walt Disney World 50th anniversary. I went there many times as a kid. I'm very excited for you to go there. So please enjoy yourself. Be safe. Hopefully, we want Elsa to be part of the Frozen series, not a bad storm in South Florida. Lawton, great job as always. Everyone enjoy the NBA Finals. We'll be back throughout the finals to have some fun and keep you abreast of what's going on. And we'll see if Giannis gives it a go tonight. Lawton has the Suns in 5 with CP3. No more can't close Chris as the MVP. I've got the Suns in 6 with Chris Paul getting the MVP. Lawton, always an honor, my friend.
Parting shots, Daniel, are we doing them?
Well, you always get a parting shot. I thought you already were filled with words because you actually gave Chris Paul some credit.
Hey, it's all good, man. Parting shots. I want to give some love to the Bucks fans. And I want you Bucks fans to watch out for a couple of things. PJ Tucker, can he annoy Devin Booker? Drew Holiday, can he slow Chris Paul down? Can Brook Lopez pull DeAndre Ayton out? Because, Brook does like to stretch the floor a little bit. He can play outside in. So those are the things to watch for tonight. If the Bucks can steal one, again, they're a little bit of a different team without Giannis. They move a little quicker. Can Middleton be that guy? So I know we've talked a lot about Chris Paul this show and the Suns and their rise, but the Bucks are a great team, and if they're going to get gritty, now's the time. So that's my parting shot for the Bucks fans. It's not hopeless. It's just Giannis.
It's not even hopeless, but it's like that guy. You know what's that game? The Price is Right game where the guy climbs up the mountain. It's like that's them. They got
the yodeler. Yeah,
the yodeler. By the way, here's our preseason or pre-NBA playoff picks. Nets over Jazz for Lawton, and I had the Clips over the Bucks. So I got one team in there, and I thought your pick was fine. I thought that one of those two was probably going to get in there, but, of course, big upsets in both conferences. So, that's the fun of the NBA. We did that before the playoffs started, not the preseason. What was your – because my preseason pick, as I mentioned, was Clippers, Bucks, Clippers winning 7. What was your preseason pick? Because I know we did a show where you did – I think you had the Lakers and somebody. I can't remember.
Lakers and Nets. I just couldn't see anybody – I had watched, watching the Nets early in the season. I mean, they were scoring 145 points a game. I mean, it was nonsense. But again, they got hit by the injury bug, and so did the Lakers. So, I mean, a lot of teams did. So, again, this is it's a different year. Last year we had a bubble year. 19 was kind of unique with Toronto. Like, we've had some of these years where it's just been, you just can't predict anything. I think next year is when we'll kind of reset. A lot of these guys that did get injured, they'll have a chance, a long off season if they don't go to play in the Olympics. They'll have a chance to kind of retool and get healthy. And I think next year is going to be even more interesting. Think about all the great teams that came out of this season, and now you look at the West next year. That's going to be intense, man. There's going to be a lot of good teams in that mix, and there's probably 6 or 7 teams right off the top of my head that could win it. So it's going to be fun.
Any bonus parting shot?
Well, Tim Ponser, man, I never had a bad interaction with the guy. Rest in peace, man. He was so young, man. Just a freak accident, and of course we had some terrible weather. What was it on the 25th? I think he passed on the 25th of June, and very terrible torrential rain. Nothing like Detroit had ever seen. And it was, he was just out driving and got into an accident. And it was just unfortunate, man. So we're going to ride for him, though. Rest in peace. And we're going to continue to make sure we put our best effort on whatever show we do in his memory.
Always. That's my parting shot as well. Rest in peace, Tim. I look forward to seeing all the people that loved him and whose lives he affected and touched and will continue to through us living the best we can on Saturday. Please check out the information for the memorial if you can go, or stream it. It's on my Twitter and Facebook as well. By the way, I mentioned every 5 years we get a kind of a special historic NBA Finals. 5 years ago, Lawton was that Cavs-Warriors series.
Yeah.
That went to 7 games when the Cavs seemed like they were done. And then before that was that crazy series between the Lakers and Celtics and the Mavs and the Heat. So I think we're due.
Yeah,
because the last few
before that was the Mavs beat the Heatles. That was Jason Kidd finally getting a ring and Dirk. So
I mean, the last few years, last year's finals, whatever was bubble, but the Raptors beating the Warriors, it was great for Toronto, but it wasn't like the craziest series. A sweep with Golden State over the Cavs in 2018, a 4-1 series win for the Warriors over the Cavs in 2017. So we're due for something good, and it should be a tremendous amount of fun as it gets going in just a little bit. About 40 or so minutes from now, we tip, and we'll see if Giannis plays. Let me see before we get out of here. If the line is moved at all, it looks like it is still sitting right at the Phoenix Suns. Oh, no, it's down a half-point, Lawton. Maybe Giannis is causing some movement there. 65% of the public is on the Suns minus 5.5. 34% or 0.5% are on the Bucks plus 5.5. The total, by the way, if you're wondering, is 219, and you've got 62% of bettors on the over 219. Lawton, I know you love NBA totals, so that'll be our parting shot. What's the play tonight? 219. To me, I think it's going under tonight. I really do.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to go under, especially game 1. You got a lot of folks that have not been in an NBA Finals before. What was who called Jimmy the Greek right there? What was that?
That's our man Charlie Brown, Public City PR. He's calling him right now.
Yeah, rest in peace to Jimmy the Greek too. He was great. Under 219. I think if I'm a betting man, I'm taking the under tonight. The safe bet's the Suns, and we'll see what happens.
All right, Lawton, always an honor, my friend. Great stuff by you. It's going to do it for us here on the Task Force Special Edition NBA Finals Preview Roundtable for LAWTON-SUNS, our great friends at SKREWBALL, and the great memory of our good friend Tim Ponce. Rest in peace, my man. I'm Dan Leach the Squatch. We'll see you next time. Until then, believe in the dream. Always tip your bartenders. Wear a mask if you need to. Drive safely, and we love y'all. Till next time, Task Force out.